everybody, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is just going to be a really chilled sit down video. I'm currently sat in my kitchen on my spinny stool and I asked you guys to just send me some questions, chats. I didn't even know, I literally feel so weird sitting down filming a sit down video. I don't remember the last time I actually did. I'm gonna jump right in and I really hope you enjoy it. I hope you've got a cup of tea, biscuits. I found some digestives the other day, so I will be having a digestive after this video. And yeah, so the first question is, how are you handling the culture shock in Spain so far? Is Spanish culture very different from the UK? For those of you who might have just randomly clicked on this video, I am from the UK. I moved to Seville as part of my year abroad. I also spent 4 months in Berlin in 2020, at the end of 2020, and I'm here for 3 months. So luckily, despite all of the chaos and like general uncertainty and restrictions and then lack of restrictions and visas and whatever, I'm really lucky that I've ended up being able to spend just over half a year abroad, which is much more than I was expecting this time last year. But yeah, obviously when you move to a different country, the culture is always going to be different. I will admit, I will like put my hands up and say, like, I obviously knew some stuff about Spanish culture because I do a Spanish degree, but I wasn't quite sure what to expect because Spain is such a varied country. There's no real such thing as like Spanish culture. You know, Madrid and Barcelona are so different to like the south, Andalusia, which is so different to like the north, Basque country. Like every region has its own traditions, cultural things, whatever, and I suppose I just didn't know all that much about Andalusia. But it's been a really lovely culture shock, if that makes sense. I really love the culture here. I especially just love how much everyone enjoys themselves all the time. Everything is just so much more leisurely. There's less of a rush. Just for example, the supermarkets. This is such a small thing, but when I went to Germany, honestly, you would go to the checkout and it would just be like an absolute marathon, like absolute sprint to get everything in your bag before they like kicked you off the counter, basically. Whereas here, like, it's just the complete opposite, which I really love. And I love that like outdoor dining culture, the fact that you go out for dinner and it's like a 3-4 hour thing. It's a really social thing. One thing I did have to adjust to, I think, was like the hours of eating, because everyone eats so much later here. Like lunch is not until like 2-3 in the afternoon, and then all the kitchens close until like 8 p.m. But I've adapted to that really quickly because I actually work from 3 till 8 Monday to Thursday, so I'm not finished with work until 8 p.m. anyway. So I've started eating at like 8:39, and I actually really love the temperature is a bit lower. That's probably why they do it. The temperature's a bit lower at 8:39, so it's much more nice to go out and like eat at that time. I don't know what else I really had to adapt to, if I'm honest. Like, I love Spanish food, so that wasn't an issue at all. I have discovered so many amazing dishes since I've got here. I think salmorejo has probably got to be my favourite discovery thus far. I just absolutely love it. I'm a bit addicted at the moment. But I've had so many different things. I went to Cordoba and I tried the flamenquín, which is like not a sausage roll. It's probably the closest. I'll put a picture on the screen. That was absolutely delicious. Chocolates fritos, all the seafood has also been delicious. Bulltet, like just all of these like traditional dishes that I don't think I'd ever even like known about, because when you go to a tapas restaurant in the UK, that's just not what's on the menu, because obviously it's like a UK version of a tapas restaurant. But yeah, I've really enjoyed like trying lots of new foods and like challenging myself in that respect too. Yeah, sorry, this answer has been really long, but basically no, I don't really think I had like a culture shock. I think I settled in quite quickly, and there's a lot of things here that I kind of wish we did in the UK as well. I always thought I would gel more with German culture. I think I'd always just had that in my mind, but actually probably thinking about it, I've much more enjoyed, I don't know if it's just because it's chilled me out a little bit, but I've just really enjoyed the relaxed lifestyle here, and kind of just the mentality, like, I don't know, just the sort of priorities and everything here. Obviously, I really want to stress that I don't want to generalise. Like, of course, you know, as I said, Spain's a really diverse country, and when you talk about culture, like general habits and general things, that's not what everybody does, of course. But yeah, I think in general, I was expecting to feel a bit more like out of place than I do. But no, I've really enjoyed it so far, and I don't really have any, I don't think I've got anything bad to say about Seville. Oh, do you know what? Actually, I have one thing that was a culture shock. It's the tiniest thing in the world. It doesn't bother me particularly, but it just really shocks me. Obviously the temperatures here are so much higher, and so I completely understand why they do this, but they like take the rubbish out at like 11 p.m. or like midnight. I think my local bin men take the rubbish out at 1 a.m. So I'll be like going to sleep and I just hear the bin men at 1 in the morning, which was very strange when I first got here. And they also like jet wash all of the streets here, which is why it's such a clean city. It is the cleanest city I think I've ever been to. There is no litter, the streets are so clean because they're jet washing them every single night at 1 a.m. That was probably the only weird thing that I've noticed so far. I'm not sure if like other things aren't coming to me, but that was probably the main thing. The next one is, can you talk about where you get your finances from living abroad as a student? I absolutely can. So I'm here on Erasmus Plus. Is that what it's called? I think the Erasmus scheme runs out at the end of 2022 or 2023, I believe. It's being replaced by the Turing scheme. I'm sorry, I can't tell you much about how that works because I honestly have no idea. But basically, if you do an internship kind of over 2 months, I think it is, then you get like an Erasmus grant of, I believe mine is, I want to say 490 euros a month or something like that. My internship is unpaid, but then essentially it is paid because of Erasmus. And I could have got a paid internship, but you have to get a work visa, and it was just so much more difficult. I thought I'd rather just get the grant from Erasmus. And I'm also really blessed and lucky that I obviously earn money through YouTube. I do save most of my YouTube money, if I'm honest. It's not really kind of what I spend day to day, and I'm really lucky to be in that situation because obviously, as well as the Erasmus grant, you also get student maintenance loan. I thought you didn't get it on your year abroad. It turns out you actually get more on your year abroad. I'm not entirely sure why. If anyone knows why, let me know. But I also still get my student loan, and I also have a couple of scholarships from Oxford as well from my exam results in first year. So yeah, basically the Erasmus grant, the scholarships, my student loan, and YouTube money. And I'm so, like, I just want to say I so recognise that I'm in such a privileged position in that respect, and that I'm really lucky that I have all of the finances that I really need to kind of live comfortably here and enjoy my time here. But the Erasmus grant do have like extra pockets of money as well, depending on your household income, I believe. Obviously as well, if you have a lower household income, you get a higher maintenance loan. So yeah, they do take that into account. But yeah, I'm feeling very lucky and blessed that I'm in the situation that I am, because it really has helped to just sort of take the stress off on that side. So yeah, very thankful. The next one is, what is your current level of Spanish? Have you noticed any progress since you arrived? Definitely noticed progress, 100%. Spanish is my weaker language by like a mile. And I kind of really noticed that when I got here. One of the interns that works at my work, she's German, and we hang out a fair bit, and I've spoken quite a lot of German with her, and I just don't struggle now, which is so amazing. Like, of course my German is not perfect, I make mistakes, I can't express everything that I want to say, my vocabulary is not perfect, but if I go out with Miro for drinks, like 3-4 hours talking German, it just doesn't bother me. Like, the words do just come naturally. I can kind of formulate sentences in a more colloquial way. I don't feel like I'm talking like a textbook. And Miro was like, honestly, your German is like to the point where I thought you were a native speaker when we first spoke. I'm not, can I just say, of course I've made lots of mistakes since then and burst that bubble, but I just don't, it just clicks in my brain more, I think. So my Spanish is still considerably weaker than my German. I think it always will be. I don't know if it's a mental thing, if it's because I've studied Spanish for like 4 years less, I don't know, but it just doesn't quite gel as much in my brain. That being said, however, I've definitely improved a lot since I've got here. I've been speaking a lot of Spanish at work, outside of work, like 100%. I'm starting to pick up those like more colloquial things, sort of like more normal ways of formulating sentences that don't just sound like they've come straight out of a grammar textbook, things like that, 100%. Do I feel like it's improved to the level that my German has? Probably not, but I think my German was better to begin with, so I think I'm going to try and cut myself some slack. For me, the literature side of my Spanish side has always been by far my strongest out of everything. I would say if I had to order it, it would be Spanish literature, German language, German literature, Spanish language. And I think I need to get myself out of that mental block of being like, I can't speak Spanish, it's my weakest language, because it's definitely improved, and 100% I feel a lot more confident than I did when I started. But right now, as I'm speaking, I just know that if I was to switch into German, I wouldn't have as many problems, I don't think. Like sometimes with Spanish I just get myself in such a knot, like I just can't get out of it, or I just don't know exactly how to say it. It just doesn't come naturally like the way that German does, which can be really frustrating. But I don't know, I think everyone who studies 2 languages will probably be able to relate that they just have one that works better for them. So yes, have definitely improved, and I would say that I'm getting a lot more exposure to Spanish than I did in Berlin with German. So I'm hoping that, yeah, 3 months here will hopefully be more than enough. And I've been watching lots of Spanish news and Spanish Netflix as well, speaking with lots of Spanish people. I do want to make more Spanish friends, 100%. It's very easy to meet like Erasmus students who, like if there's one person in the group that doesn't speak Spanish, then the natural language to go to is English, if that makes sense. So it will be like a case where we'll be in a big group and like all of us can speak Spanish apart from one person, and so then of course everyone switches to English, which really frustrates me, not because they can't speak Spanish or whatever, just that, as I've said, I've spoken about this before, I just feel like really uncomfortable sometimes knowing that it's my mother language and that everybody else is having to switch to English so that we can have a conversation, and that's not hard for me. Like I can just speak it. And so I have had some situations there, like here, where I'm like, I wish we could be speaking Spanish right now, but I completely get, you know, it is just what it is. It's not like anyone's fault or anything like that. But yeah, I definitely am trying to make more Spanish friends. I've been going for like coffees and stuff with Spanish people, but it does tire me out. Like it is a lot harder for me than German, but we're getting there. We're getting there, we're working on it, we're improving it. I don't think I'll ever reach the same level as German, but the most important thing is to be here and to be improving it. That's why I came in the first place, was to improve my Spanish, and it's definitely improving. Just from like being in the supermarket, hearing it on the street, watching the news in Spanish, like just it's everywhere here. There's not much English in Seville, which is, apart from the Erasmus students, the main English contingent are the Erasmus students, and everywhere else there's not English on the signs, there's not English like menus in lots of places. Like it's nice, it is really nice. It's not an English free zone, but a much more English free zone than Berlin was. The next one is, do you get homesick being away for so long? If so, how do you cope? I will put my hands up and say I don't really at all. I miss my family, I miss the people, I miss my parents so much, and we do talk regularly, FaceTime regularly. I love England, and as I've said like many times before, most likely can see myself sort of living in the UK when I'm older, but that's probably why I don't miss it too much, because I know I'll be back. Yeah, what do I miss? I miss the dog. I am struggling, I'm not gonna lie. My parents keep sending me pictures of Jess, and it does get me really, I'm literally gonna get upset about it. I'm not crying over the dog, I'm not. Yeah, no, I do really miss Jess. I think just because she's got getting older now, I just really worry that I'm not going to see her again. And she can't really, like, we can't really FaceTime her because she kind of sees, like, she can hear me, but she can't see me. So then she gets really distressed and, like, goes up to my room and is, like, looking for me. So mom kind of has to make sure she's not really in the room when we're talking. And, like, yeah, I really, really miss the dog, like, a lot, because I can talk with my family on FaceTime and stuff, but obviously can't talk to the dog on FaceTime. I would say sometimes also I do kind of miss the food, like just like certain things that you can't get here, but that's totally normal and really not the end of the world for 3 months. But like, yeah, it's been really nice because it's been great to try loads of new foods, and the food here is delicious and really fresh compared to England. I find when you go out to eat in England, like for example at Spoons or like Wagamamas or wherever, like it is quite salty and it is quite, not processed, but yeah, like processed, if you know what I mean. Whereas here, everything is just so freshly cooked, like they just cut all the crap basically, and it's just nice and enjoyable. But I do sometimes want like a processed Nando's. I don't know what that says about me as a person, but yeah, I've been craving a Nando's for the last week, like nothing else. And what I am particularly craving is battered chips. If you're from the Black Country, you'll know orange chips, battered chips. I would get on a plane. If it worked for COVID, I'll get on a plane and just go and get some battered chips and see the dog. But yeah, I suppose I really kind of like don't get too homesick anymore for my actual house. Obviously, spent more time there over the last year than I kind of expected to, and I really love being with my family, but the room itself, as I've said before, I just don't really have any attachment to. I'm actually moving out of that room. My sister's moving into it. When I go home in August, I'm literally going to pack up all my stuff, put it into storage, and my sister's gonna have that room, so I will just be sleeping in the spare room anyway, because it's a bit unfair that I'm barely ever there and she has to still have the tiny little box room. So I don't really have a room at my mom's or my dad's anymore. And I am just gonna be moving back to Oxford. I'm gonna come on to that in a bit, but I am just gonna be moving back to Oxford basically. I'm gonna be home. I don't know what I'm doing in August at the moment. I don't really know what my plans are, if I'm gonna stay in Spain or if I'm gonna go home. But I'm going back to Oxford at the start of September and I'm gonna live there the whole year. And then after that, like, I'll move out. So I'm not sick for the home, but I'm sick for my family, who are my home, obviously, because I love them to pieces. Okay, and then I had a lot of questions in the area of, are you excited to go back to Oxford? What are your plans for final year? How are you gonna do things differently compared to your first 2 years? So, basically, you will know if you've watched me from the sort of start of my Oxford journey that I've always been really honest about my experience, and it definitely has its pros and cons, but I've always said that the biggest bugbear for me about Oxford is the term system. Rather than having a contract for your accommodation for the whole year like a normal university, you have to move in and out at the end of every term, and bearing in mind the terms are only 8 weeks, it's a huge upheaval, and you'd spend like 8 weeks of just like intense work, just deadline after deadline after deadline, and then literally the day after you handed in your last essay they'd be like, right, get out, and then you'd go and spend 6 weeks just sat in your childhood bedroom like processing what's just happened. And I think for me that movement back and forth was really what was the hardest thing for me in first and second year, especially in first year. I just really struggled with that like jarring movement. But by some miracle, the gods have answered my prayers. LMH are finally introducing a 37-week contract, aka from October to June, so I can just stay in college the whole year. So I can just move in. I don't have to apply for extenuating circumstances. I don't have to pay extra. It's just a flat rate. When I saw it, guys, I actually cried. I'm so grateful for this. You have no idea. I know for a lot of you, you'll be thinking, God, we literally just have our contract from like September to July, and like we can just go back and forth when we want. But Oxford's just never had that, and it means, oh my God, like, it means the world. A, because I really just want to be in Oxford to have access to the libraries, the facilities. My degree is so book-based, it's such a nightmare in the holidays if you've forgotten to bring a book home with you. But also because obviously my second year was cut short, I'm so incredibly thankful that this will hopefully mean that I get like to make up some of that lost time. And the cherry on top of the cake is that I've never been in Oxford like without work. So that is the reason why it was always so difficult, I think, and why people have been pushing and pushing for them to introduce these contracts, is that you get to Oxford in like the week before term, you have to revise for your mock exams, then term starts and it's just like deadline, and then literally the day after term finishes you have to leave, and so you are never in Oxford without work or like without deadlines until you finish your final exams. And your final year, those 3 weeks, 4 weeks after your final exams are the only time. My friends are just finishing their exams now, which is crazy to me. They've actually finished their degrees, obviously because I took a year out. And they were like, we're gonna go to like Blenheim Palace and like go and see all the things. And it's like, it's crazy that you've been in Oxford for 3 years and you've not had the time to go and do that. So yeah, it's gonna mean that I get more time in Oxford to appreciate the city. I've got more access to the resources, and I can just have like 5 weeks where, yeah, obviously I've got to revise and I've got to work, but I've not got a tutorial or a lecture or a deadline. I can just actually appreciate the city and be in the city. So I am feeling so incredibly thankful for that. Honestly, all week I've just had a smile on my face just thinking about it. I might have to move rooms because the reason they actually do it in the first place is because of conferences. Basically, they rent the rooms out for conferences because that makes them more money. It is actually quite awful if you think about it, that they just really don't put their students first at all. So I might have to move rooms if I get the room that I want this year, and I probably will, fingers crossed, because we're top of the ballot. That's another thing. Honestly, guys, I'm feeling so grateful and thankful and just happy at the moment because I'm also at the top of the ballot this year. Like, I'm at the top of the list, so I've got like a few people above me. Oh my God, sorry, this update has got so long. Basically, it's like a list of priority, and returning linguists, like linguists who have been on their year abroad, are like top of that list. Essentially, they're like one of the top groups. So if I get the room that I want, I might have to move out of that room in the vacations if they want to rent it out, because it's one of the more sort of new rooms and it's definitely used more for conferences. but I can live with moving rooms if it means I can stay in Oxford. It's a step forward, and it's one that I am loving. So I'm really, really excited for 4th year in that respect. I've just picked my final papers as well. I only have 1 term left of teaching, actually proper teaching, because first term is like finishing off your papers. Second term is like special subject, which is kind of like your extended essay, dissertation, portfolio thing. It's not actually a dissertation, it's like, I don't even know, it's like a portfolio of essays and revision, and then obviously like final term is exams. So it's all feeling very real now. I have started reading for final year. I've tried. I've not really got that much done, if I'm really honest with you. But I'm hoping to move back in September. Even though the contracts start in October, I am going to apply to move back in September. Because as I said, I don't really have a room at home, and I kind of just want to get a head start on the work. I want to go back to the libraries. I'm absolutely terrified because I feel like I've forgotten everything from 2nd year, and we're assessed on our 2nd and 4th year together. And the other day we did a pub quiz, and one of the questions was like, who is the main sidekick in Don Quixote? Bearing in mind, Don Quixote is like one of the books that I like studied in depth in 2nd year, and it took me like 5 minutes to remember. So I'm a bit concerned, but I'm hoping it will all just come back. I'm hoping I'll get back into the academic swing of things, because right now I just can't imagine writing an essay. I read one of my essays from 2nd year yesterday, and it freaked me out because I was like, I don't even know what I'm going on about. Like, I feel like I've just lost all ability to like be intellectual because I've obviously taken a year out. I'm so glad that I had a year out this year. And yeah, it's been, you know, it's had some ups and downs, but 100% like I have come out of this whole situation way better than most people, and for that I am like incredibly just grateful every single day. But I would say that it's kind of it's been great, it's been needed, and I've changed completely as a person in the last year, and I wouldn't have had the chance to kind of like find myself and get comfortable in myself and work on myself if I hadn't had this year out of academics. But I think the transition back in, look, I'm going to document it all on here, so we'll see how it goes, but I'm trying to be optimistic. I think it will be a shock to the system, but the fact that I can live in Oxford for the whole of final year has made the whole thing just like, I'm just so excited. I cannot believe they are offering us a whole year contract. Like, it's insane, it's insane. The next question is, do you ever mix up your languages? I don't, but that is because I study like 2 languages that I don't really think could be more different from each other. Occasionally I will like get like there's 1 tiny grammar point between the 2 that sometimes, yeah, I do get mixed up, but it is so tiny. It's really, really difficult to mix German and Spanish. Like, the only time I've got a bit flustered is when I'm with the German intern Miro. We'll sometimes, when we've gone out for dinner, obviously we'll be speaking in German, and then the waiter will come over and I just carry on speaking in German, but I think it's because I just can't flip between German, Spanish and English sometimes. So I have accidentally said danke instead of gracias like quite a few times, but other than that, no, not really. Next one is, how has your mental health been since arriving in Spain? It's been fab, I'm not gonna lie. I think I am the most mentally sound and happy that I have been in so long. I think January and February this year were a bit of a blast back to 2019 vibes. I was not doing very well. But I think a combination of vitamin D, I promise I do have a bit of a tan, but you really can't see it on here at all, can you? I literally look as pale as when I came. The combination of vitamin D, lots of walking, not having deadlines, as I was saying, like this whole last year without the pressure of work has done bits. Regularly going to the gym, eating better, just like looking after myself mentally and physically has meant that I am probably just the happiest and most relaxed I've been in ages. And a lot of you have commented on that and have said like, you look like you're really, really happy in yourself, and I genuinely am. Like, I just have never, of course I still, you know, I still get worried and my anxiety hasn't just like disappeared, but it's definitely much easier to manage, and I've kept myself occupied. I've got lots to do, lots to see. So yeah, feeling very thankful in that respect as well. And it's thanks to you guys and all of your love and support as well on all of the videos and all of your advice and recommendations and everything. And yeah, thank you for sticking with me like through the rough and the smooth. I know like 2019, for example, was a rough time for me. Start of 2021 was also not great, but the pill that I'm on seems to have done wonders for my hormone levels as well, and for the physical side effects. So it's been like a win-win. Even my skin has improved. So yeah, unless this pill suddenly decides to like to do a 180 on me, then fingers crossed. Yeah, I'm doing good and I'm feeling optimistic, and yeah, let's just hope that going back to Oxford does not bring back any past stress. Yeah, I will admit I am kind of worried that like final year is gonna pose a bit of a big challenge, in the sense that this last year I have had a bit more free time than what I would normally have. So I've had time to go to the gym, to cook more, to like prioritise myself a bit more. I know that with work in final year, it's going to be like, do you want a social life? Do you want enough sleep? Do you want to get your work done? Do you want to go to the gym regularly? Something's going to have to give. I've not decided what yet, but we'll get there, and it's going to be a learning curve again, and that's what life's all about, is change, growth, adaptation. So I'm feeling optimistic. A lot of you also asked, how did you find a group of friends to hang out with in Spain? And I know that, again, I know I keep saying this in this video, but I have also been incredibly fortunate in that respect, because one thing that was really, really useful for me was that when I said I was coming to Seville, a lot of people did, you know, who are also in Seville, also studying in Seville, are from Seville, whatever, like messaged me on Instagram, and they were like, do you want to go for a coffee? Do you want to do something? And then through that, I would meet their friends, and through that, I'd meet their friends, and we now have kind of a little girl group chat, which is really, really nice, because it's always great if you want to do something, you can just message the chat and be like, hey, I'm gonna go do this today, do you fancy joining? And they're all super, super lovely, and then more people kind of join occasionally. One thing I will say is that a lot of them are leaving at the end of June. Most people are going at the end of June, so there's not many of us left into July, but that is a-okay with me, because that is giving me a chance to meet more people and to work on myself, so that's all good. And obviously the nature of a year abroad is that people come and go, like, you know, depending on where. A lot of them are going to like other placements over the summer with their other language, you know, visa problems, etc, etc. But in terms of other ways to meet people, there are Erasmus groups. There's an Erasmus Facebook group. I've met people through Erasmus events. So if you are going to a city that has an Erasmus Facebook group or an Erasmus club, definitely join that, because that's a really good way to get your foot in the door, whether that's going to a pub quiz or a bar night. And yeah, there are so many groups on Facebook, for example, especially in Berlin, there's lots of like international people in Berlin, or like, for example, if you're going on a year abroad not for language capacity and you don't speak the language, then those will have like meetups in English. There's also an app called Meetup, which is really, really useful. But I think in Seville, if you're coming to Seville specifically, the Erasmus Club, Sevilla, and the Erasmus Student Network were the best ones for sure. And also just messaging any like university Facebook groups, if anybody else from your uni's there. There's lots of ways to do it. It is difficult and it is daunting, but you kind of just have to like say yes to things and like put yourself out there. I was so nervous the first week, and then it did all kind of just fall into place because I was just really open, and like, you know, you just make friends with everybody and just talk to everybody. And yeah, but as I said, I will emphasize that again, that's something that I've been really, really lucky in that respect. I've just been lucky in every respect, honestly. Yeah, I've just been lucky in every respect with this whole thing. Like, I really want to emphasize that I genuinely count my lucky stars every single day. And finally, somebody's asked, what's your plans? What are you doing? Has anything changed since we last spoke? Not particularly, no. Plan as it stands is to stay in Seville until the end of July. My lease runs out on the 8th of August, but I think that the heat is going to be, like, Seville apparently is a ghost town in August, like nobody is here. So I think I might go and visit some other places in Spain that I wanted to see. I really would like to go to the Basque Country. I'd really, really like to go to Valencia. So, and maybe Portugal, depending on obviously the international travel situation. So depending on how the situation is in August with Miss Rona, then yes, I would really, really like to just travel a little bit around Spain. And then in August, I'm planning on coming home around the time of my mom's birthday. My mom's birthday is the 14th of August, so I imagine I will be back then. I think Sitsy's going on. I'm not really sure what the situation is with Sitsy. I don't know if I'm gonna have to isolate, which is totally fine. You do like the test to release thing, or if quarantine in a hotel maybe, hopefully not, but that is also, obviously all of these options like were things that I definitely considered and like took on when I came here, and like whatever happens, that's just gonna be what happens, and it's fine by me. So whether I have to isolate or not, if it's on the green list, amber list, I don't even know, that will kind of depend. But the plan was to kind of, if I have to isolate, I will probably come back a little bit earlier so I can be free on my mom's birthday, because I want to celebrate with her, because she's amazing. And yeah, first plan, first port of call upon arriving in the UK is to get my jab. A lot of you have actually been really, really like lovely, messaging me like, oh my god, like, are you gonna miss your vaccine? Like, just out of genuine concern. I rang the GP before I came and explained the situation, and she was like, absolutely no worries at all, you will not miss your vaccine. You can literally ring us the day you get back, or when you know that you're gonna get back. If you don't have to isolate, you can get off the plane, come here, get your jab same day. Or if you have to isolate, we'll book you in for your first appointment post-isolation. They're not going to stop giving out the jabs in August. They were like, there's going to be a few people in your situation and not to worry, and they gave me a number to ring and said that, yeah, there will still be plenty of jabs left. So I am going to get my jab, do not worry. I'm more than happy to wait. As I said, coming out here, that was something that I definitely considered, and I really don't mind being back of the queue. There are definitely people who need it more than me, so yeah, that's all good. So come home, get my vaccine, hopefully, and then probably just sort of awkwardly loiter for like 2 weeks at home. My parents are hoping to move at the end of this year, so everything's just a little bit like, there's not like, everything's a bit unfixed at home, if that makes sense. Like, I'll probably just be chilling in the spare room for a couple of weeks, packing up all my stuff, like sorting through it, getting rid of it, just enjoying being at home and enjoying everyone's company. And then I'm hoping to move to Oxford in September, and then obviously I'm in Oxford until June, and that's just going to be a whole whirlwind, which I'll of course take you along with me on that. I'm really, really excited. And then after that, I think, yeah, I've kind of just got a 6-month blank gap at the moment. I am slowly filling it with things. I don't want to like say anything yet, because obviously we don't know what the situation's going to look like, whether it's just 6 months out or 6 months working, 6 months traveling, I'm not sure. And then hopefully still going to be applying for the journalism NCTJ qualification to start in January of 2023. I think I'm pretty set on Manchester now, but as I said, things can change. But that's kind of the general forward impetus of things. It's actually quite nice to have plans now, I think. As much as I like to say I've learned to adapt and stuff, it's nice to have a brief overview. So that's a brief overview. So yeah, I think that kind of brings us to the end of this video. I know it was really, really long, but as you can tell, like, I am just feeling so grateful. I know I keep saying that in this video, but I really do just want to like make it clear that I am so happy and so grateful, and just feeling really fulfilled and confident and just better in myself than I have in a long, long time. And that's all because of you guys and your support. Really, really just hoping to make the most of the rest of my time here, to learn as much of the language as possible, go back, do my final year. We'll see how that goes. Things can obviously take a swift downward turn at any point. We're not going to take this happiness for granted, because we know how things can change, either with the pandemic or with uni or whatever, or just with me personally. But we're gonna just enjoy it and live in the moment and be happy and grateful for the fact that the moment right now is very nice. If you did enjoy this video, please do give it a massive thumbs up. I feel like I've absolutely rambled for the last 45 minutes, so I'm probably gonna edit this down a little bit. But I do like doing these chatty ones like every now and then. It's a really good way of like tracking like how everything is going, and obviously things are changing at such a speed for everybody at the moment. If you'd have told me this time last year that this would be where we'd be this time this year, or if you'd have told me in January that this would be where we'd be, like, it's just crazy how quickly everything is changing. But I hope that everybody back in England you're making the most of, you know, the restrictions easing, and that you've got to see your family and friends that you've not seen for so long, seeing people like meeting up and like reuniting with grandparents and stuff has just been filling my heart with so much joy. And seeing people finish their degrees, like, you did that, you really got a degree in a pandemic, like, the admiration I have for you is insane. I'm sending all my love back home, and I hope you're all just making the most of the good weather that's finally come your way and the easing of restrictions. Yeah, just sending all the love, the hugs, the good vibes. I'll see you very soon with a new video. Bye guys. Mwah.